Godzilla has been sighted, and now we need to have him approaching the city. So before we get started, I want to just show you that I've already started to organize all of my cleaned up artwork into folders. And I have my buildings in one folder, and I have all the pieces of God Lizard in one folder, and the military in one folder. And I put all these old JPEGs and PNGs into one folder, and I put the water in its own folder as well. Now, what we need to do is start working with our scenes. We need to name these scenes. So we're going to go ahead and call this one Surfaces, because this is when he first appears. And we're going to create another scene here, and we're going to call this City. And then we're going to create another scene, and we're going to call this Intro. And basically with the intro, we're going to copy and paste the scene that we first showed you. Was when I first showed you this tutorial, was when the logo was shown. So what we could do is actually copy and paste all of this and put that into the scene. So what we can do is we can go to Edit, and then we can go to Timeline, and then copy the frames. So let's go ahead and select both of them. Let's go ahead and click on the logo, hold down Shift on the keyboard, and now we have all the frames selected. Let's go to Edit, Timeline, Copy Frames. Now let's go back to our other movie, and you'll find the logo movie in your resources folder. And we're going to paste that right here in the intro. Edit, Timeline, Paste Frames. So now we have our God Lizard attacks right here in the same film. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just make sure everything's lined up properly. Great. So now we have our opening here. Let's make sure our logo is where it belongs. Okay. Let's go ahead and save this whole movie. So when he intros, the intro comes out. Then we go to the next scene, and then we see the surfacing of God Lizard. Now we're going to go to the city, and let's set that up. What we're going to do is grab the buildings here, and we're going to build a little bit of an animation having a building shake as he approaches. So let's go ahead and put our first building right there at the edge so we don't have to see the bottom here. We'll call this layer Building 1. We'll create a new layer for Building 2. And one more layer for Building 3. And I'm going to drag an instance of each kind of building onto its own layer. And like I said before, this is a B movie we're making. Doesn't really matter if the angles match or anything like that. We're just having a whole bunch of fun here as we learn how to do some cool stuff. So I'm going to go to Building 3, and like I said before, we have all kinds of crazy angles. And I'm going to actually drag Building 3 to the background here because it's the tallest one. I put it right about there. Now what I want to do is I want to animate the building shaking. So I'm going to start on, let's see, frame 25. So let's go ahead to frame 20, and let's add a keyframe for all the buildings. So they're pretty still here. They're not moving at all. It's a night scene. Everything's nice and calm. God Lizard is approaching now, so we have to have the buildings quake. So let's go to frame 25. Let's add some keyframes. And now, one at a time, let's go ahead and, with our free transform tool, start to make these buildings move a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a thump. So all the buildings should kind of go down a little bit. And then the next keyframe, we're going to have the buildings rise up. So they all kind of sink a little tiny bit and move. And then on frame, let's say 28 or so, let's go ahead and add another keyframe and move all the buildings up since they're all selected. And we can go ahead and just rotate them a little bit, kind of back to where they started. And let's do it just a few more times. Let's go to frame, let's see, 35, because he's a lizard and he needs to take his time with his walk here, because he's a dinosaur. He's not going to be running to the city. And once again, we're going to just animate this and have the buildings kind of sink down just a tiny bit, like so. And on frame 40, we'll have them rise back up. Now let's go ahead and insert some of these motion tweens. And as usual, let's preview our animation.